Hey, what's up? Dave with Brazos Barbell. Today's video topic really came up by accident in the last week or so of my training because of my experience, and I think that makes it even more relevant than a lot of other ones that I plan because these things happen really without any warning. So this video I wanted to cover some of my thoughts on what I do when facing pain or injury in normal training, and it happens fairly often. So it's important to start off by defining what I mean in this instance of pain. What I want to classify them as is either going to be chronic or acute pain. So chronic pain would be anything that lasts more than a few months, and acute pain is obviously just less than that. So the acute pain also usually comes with a more sudden onset. There are going to be some cases that there's a legitimate injury and that needs management and potentially some time off, but for the most part, the wear and tear that we get through lifting can be dealt with without many modifications as long as we're smart about it. So in my case, I have one of each. My chronic pain here is some lateral hip pain that I've had for a little over 3 years, but has really not caused any major issues at all in recent years, especially when I'm diligent with warming up and moving well. Unfortunately, holidays, increased travel, my training schedule has been thrown off some. I've trained with equipment that I'm not familiar with or it's not as safe as what I normally have access to. And the biggest one is extended periods of driving. So that seems to have the biggest impact on my discomfort in my hip, and it really shows up when I squat in the bottom and particularly in this session. So visually, just watching the warm-ups and watching this session, we can't really see a whole lot. Maybe I'm a little sluggish out of the bottom. But the main thing that I feel is discomfort at the bottom, and that impacts my force production when I try to turn around, and it makes me a little bit timid through my descent and at the lower portions of the squat. So on its own, I don't think there's a whole lot to worry about. I've had this pain before. It lasts a few weeks and then it subsides and everything is normal again. The problem is what happened during this workout. So on my top set of squats with 275 kilos or 606 pounds, I moved a little differently than what I normally do and felt a pretty good pull in the middle of my back. So on my third rep, standing up, bar moved up a little bit on my back, and I almost felt like I was going to dump it forward. And surprisingly, on the video, you can't really see a whole lot, but nothing crazy and nothing that I was going to be concerned that's going to cause major issues going forward, but it was obviously some sort of pulled muscle. So now it's decision time, and I think this is where most people get a little bit lost. So my stance is that I want myself and others to still do the most amount of work that they can and not dramatically increase the recovery time of whatever is hurting them, whatever is ailing them. So from what I've seen, people tend to have little tweaks and shut the whole thing down. The bar rolls up on their back, they have this pull, and then they would either go way too light in the session or just stop squatting and think they need to rest. But we skip the rest of the session. And for me, my opinion was that the remainder of the work that I was going to have to do, it wasn't going to put me in a position that was going to make me any worse. My hip was still feeling the same as when I started, and nothing was going to change by me stopping that workout. My back would feel the same as well. So I just needed to take care and move well and choose loads that wouldn't take me out of my position. My back felt fine in normal positions, so as long as I didn't overreach, then things shouldn't be too bad. So I finished the workout as written, my competition squats, and then dropped some load on the safety squat bar to finish and moved on. Like most things over the weekend, it started to feel a little bit worse. I felt a little bit more stiff, but then by moving around and then by Monday morning, it started to feel a whole lot better. So I went into the workout, the warm-ups were feeling fine, and then heavier loads didn't hurt much. I just felt a little slow, like I didn't have full speed coming out of the hole. So my workout for the day called for a pause single followed by pause triples. I felt comfortable doing the heavy single, but was unsure what taking the reps were going to feel like. So the planned single felt fine, no increase in pain, dropped back down to what I felt like was going to be a conservative enough load. But then as the reps went on during that set, I definitely felt my quality deteriorating and my back was feeling a little more irritated. So again, I think this is something where a lifter has gotten this far, the tendency is to either push all out and get in the work they think they need to do. Their back was feeling better, so they feel like they can probably just push, or the other option is shut it down and go home. I felt comfortable with the lighter weights and the warm-ups, and I still felt like I could perform some volume, so I dropped 10 more kilos, and things went fine, no added discomfort, and maybe even some improvement through the movement. So that's where I think most people kind of mess up. They tend to stray away from that middle ground and either go too hard or too easy, and then it ends up being less productive than it could. But got through this workout and things were starting to feel better. My hip was starting to feel better. My back was showing it could handle some work. And I was really excited moving into my deadlift session that I could build on what was a great triple last week. I pulled 320 kilos, 705 pounds, probably felt like a 7.5-ish RPE. So warm-ups were flying. The last warm-up at 705 flew. My back was feeling good, so I loaded 727, 330 kilos. And the first rep, really sharp pull in the middle of my back, and the rep was nearly maximal. So the workout had planned 2 chop triples. I was supposed to do the 330 and then drop down to somewhere around 315, but it got nowhere even close to doing what my first one was. So obviously, heavy loading was out for the day. This could have been a discouraging session for me because it was so far under what I wanted to be pulling on that day, and I felt really good. But instead of focusing on the negative that just happened, there was still a lot of positive to be had. My deadlift had felt great except for that one rep. I had squatted a pause single early in the week with only 2.5 kilos under my best competition squat. Things are not that bad. So I loaded 260 kilos for working sets and really got in a good groove for this, and I felt my confidence growing, momentum returning to some degree, and through the end of the workout really started feeling really good again. So if I would have packed it up and after I missed that set or still tried to push and then maybe hurt my back worse, I wouldn't have had this positive outcome of what felt like a productive session. So leaving the session, I felt great about the speed of my warm-ups. The last warm-up, 705, felt awesome. And the key with anything, focusing on things that you can do and not being upset in the ways that you're limited. So finding ways to improve every session, even if that means you can't do exactly what's on paper. It may have been that I needed to stop at my last warm-up on Monday instead of hitting the 290 kilo pause squat. Or maybe that it would have felt worse and I wouldn't have even felt comfortable loading the 727. But every day, I still would have gone into those sessions with the intention of seeing what kind of work I could get done and being proactive about it, rather than sitting back and waiting to feel better and missing out on what could still be some quality training time and still being productive. So when we're doing these sessions, we just need to make sure that we're looking at ways to improve rather than just trying to be safe always. We can still be a little bit aggressive as long as we're using our brains about it. So thanks for watching as always. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time.